I want to run back on what we talked about last week in terms of the Evercade. So last week, and it's actually one of the videos that has gotten the most traction this week, which is kind of cool over on YouTube, is our talk about the Evercade console and how it's bringing back cartridge-based gaming and how kind of we like the idea of it. We like carts and everything, and we liked more so that they're not individual games, right? You're spending your $20 or something, and you're getting between like 6 to 12 games. And one of the ideas we had in hopes was that this would lead to more compilations from other publishers or other things. Well, our wish has been granted, and we have a comment on the video last week from the Evercade fan group letting us know that more stuff is on the way. As the Evercade people sent me a message about, guess what? More stuff is on the way. What I love about it is that it's on the way before launch. So what we're getting is a new multi-game cartridge based on the Atari Lynx. Now this is very, very cool. So this is an Atari Lynx bundle, something we haven't ever gotten before. I don't think something like this has ever been released on any other console or compilation. This one,
a lot of people didn't play the Atari Lynx back in the day.
Most people didn't have it.
I didn't.
It was way ahead of its time, but it came out too late. And Atari was run. There's a whole thing about Atari being run by Trammell, and they were dealing with computers, and like there was just a lot of things. They were just real behind. They were a company at that time trying to release something for the cheapest possible price, but they were always late to the game because they had the Atari Lynx like a couple of years before the Game Boy, if I recall right.
Yeah.
And they sat on it for years. And it should have been fantastic. But again, when they released it, no one was interested.
Yeah.
But those that did have it noted how cool it was. And now the problem with the Lynx today is the same problem you kind of have with the Game Gear, but a little bit less so, is that the console one is hard to find.
Yeah.
And those screens are notoriously bad. So you're not going to get a very good looking thing. Like thankfully the Game Boy and its monochrome screen back in the day like still hold up. But those color screens, early LCDs, I have a Game Gear now. I have a couple, but I have one, like my one that I've had. When I turn it on, I have to angle the thing almost flat to see the screen because it's so bad. Like these things were bad.
The other thing is, I don't know if it was a problem with the Lynx, but the Game Gear was a battery hog.
Oh no, the Lynx was a terrible battery hog too.
Yeah.
So like 2 hours you would get.
Oh wow.
It was bad.
That is Game Gear.
And it was fat. It was like this thing was bad. And so this new cartridge comes with 17 games, which is cool. That's a ton of games. It features cartridges officially licensed from Atari and some of the makers. Of course, you can connect it to your TV to actually play these games on the big screen like no one has ever done. I don't think that's ever been done because there's not a lot of work being done on like Atari Lynx like emulation or something like that. So these games are incredibly hard to play. Shy of owning like the original console, and you're probably going to spend a lot of money trying to get a console on eBay, and let alone 17 games, right? It's cheaper to buy an Evercade and this console pack probably than even buying an Atari Lynx itself. And what's interesting is Evercade actually reached out and said that they're going to do more stuff like this. That their plan right now, they have a library right now of 10 cartridge packs coming out, which is really cool. They have Atari, Data East, a lot of interesting releases are coming out. But they also said that they're going to plan on probably try to release a couple of packs like this a year. I think somewhere around the thing of like 2 to 5 cartridges per year, which is, and that's just this year. They said 2 to 5 alongside the 10 they already have. That's not bad for a small company that's kind of essentially flying under the radar, doing stuff themselves. And again, not single games. So if they release 5 cartridges a year and each cartridge features 10 games, right? That's not
50 to 70 something games.
Yeah, you're looking at a fairly decent release thing. Now, again, I don't know any of these games on the Evercade. I'm looking at the list.
You'd be hard pressed to.
and a lot of these are stuff from Europe. that were probably a lot of this stuff was like the Master System to the Game Gear, right? And it was from like the Atari 8-bit systems in Europe to the Lynx because they already had the games.
Yeah,
So
like,
you
I
got
think
stuff,
I've heard of Crystal Mines.
like Missile Command because some of the Atari
Yeah.
stuff. Dracula the Undead I've heard of on the 8-bits, but not on this. Uh, you got a tennis game, some puzzle games.
Ishido, The Way of Stones, which I
Yeah,
think is just Go.
but
Yeah.
what's interesting to me here is that I don't know probably 16 of the 17 games here. So I may go out of my way to buy an Evercade just so I can play something like this.
Mhm.
Because it's not often you get a retro game pack where you haven't played any of the games,
Yeah.
right? Like I bought the Sega Genesis collection on PS3, haven't bought any of them since
Mhm.
because I don't need them now, but I
Yeah.
also owned a lot of those games, right? But it was just easier than pulling out my Sega Genesis, getting all those plugs, finding a TV with the right cords when I can just say, I'm just going to pop this into my PS3 and play. So something like this, I think, is really cool. I can't wait to see what's coming up next for them. Do hope they do. We talked about some of the problems last week. I do hope they fix that. They do release arcade perfect ports as opposed to console stuff.
Yeah.
I hope that they're tweaking that system so we get it. But I'm excited. I hope that this does well and that it lasts and it survives. And I think it's coming around in April, so it's a perfect time. It's coming right before all the big consoles come out, like towards November and stuff,
Yeah.
and right ahead of E3. So I think it's in a really good place. Really excited, and we'll let you guys know about Evercade news as it develops, and hopefully get one in here so we can take a look at some of this stuff and see how it plays because I'm still concerned about that D-pad, and no one's really talked about it yet from the stuff I've seen. Some
Well,
of
no
them have
news is good
mentioned,
news.
yeah, I mean, they haven't said it's bad, but when someone doesn't talk about a D-pad on a D-pad only controller game thing,
You
I
wonder.
get concerned, right? They say it's kind of like the Sega Genesis, but I'm like, we'll see. So I'm tentative about praising this thing yet until it's in my hands, but I'm like where this is going.